So let's go to models py now, and in there I'll add a new model and I'll name it user profile. It's not really a user profile because it only will have a file, an image, but of course, as I said before, there could be more data involved. Now, as before, here we'll extend models.model, and now we set up all the fields we want to have, like a first name and so on. But here it's only about the image. So I'll add a field named image here. And this will now be a special kind of field, not a char field containing some image name or anything like that, but instead a file field. There also is an image field, and I'll come back to that in a second, but let's start with the file field. The file field wants a file, but the interesting thing now is that this file will not be stored in a database, because it is considered a bad practice to store files in the database. It bloats the database, makes it slow, and the database simply is no file storage. Instead, files should be stored on hard drives. Therefore, what file field will do under the hood once we save a model with a file is it will take that file and move it somewhere on our hard drive, on our disk, and only store the path to that file in the model, in the database. So that just the path is stored in the database, but if we then need to use that data and display that image, for example, it knows where to find the file. And that's pretty smart, and it also handles moving that file to that location for us, so that we don't manually need to move the file anywhere. To achieve this, we need to add the upload to parameter and tell Django where to store this file. And now we don't want to construct a long path which would have to be absolute on our entire file system. So we can't just say data here and Django would use a data folder next to models. That's not how it would work. Instead, that would look for a data folder on the root level of our operating system, so totally outside of this Django project. And that's not what I want. Therefore, we'll go to the feedback project folder and dive into the settings again. And here, at the very bottom, we can add a new setting, which doesn't exist yet, but which we can add now. And that's the media root. Media root will tell Django where our files should be stored in general. And then any folders we might point at in our models will be subfolder to that media root. This should be an absolute path, and I want to pick a folder inside my project here in this case. So I'll add a new uploads folder here on my root project level, and I want to use that folder here. Now to construct this path, I'll use the base dir, which is a variable available here in the settings file, which points at this overall project folder. So this overall folder. And then simply add /uploads. And this now constructs an absolute path to this uploads folder. Now this media root setting will automatically be taken into account when a file is uploaded and moved because of a file field. So now here, I want to move the file to a data folder, or maybe to an images folder, let's say, inside of that uploads folder. Now we have this profile, and we could add more fields, but now I want to use this profile, or this model, this user profile model, in my view. So for this, we import it here from .models, we import user profile. And then here in post, if we have a valid form, instead of storing a file like this, what we can do now is we can create our profile, we can instantiate our user profile model, and then set this image field just as you learned it by adding the image keyword argument. And here we can now point at the file. So like this. And actually here it's user image as an identifier now, because our form is now rendered with help of the form class, and that class uses user image as a field name for the file field. So that is then the key by which we can retrieve the file. So hence here I access user image on the incoming files, and I store that file as a value in the image field of my user profile. Now behind the scenes, Django will do what I explained. It will take the file, move it to some other location on our file system, in this case to the uploads folder, and only store a path in the database. But we don't need to worry about that. We just need to call save here, and Django will do all the rest. And now with that, if we save this, now we don't need to manually write the file anywhere. We can delete the store file function here. Instead, now Django will take care about that. So with all files saved, if we visit /profiles again and I choose a file here and upload this, I get an error, no such table. Because of course, running migrations first would be an idea since we added a model. So let's quit the development server and let's run make migrations. And once that happened, we want to run migrate to also run them. And once that is done, we can run our development server again. Now we got the database initialized. So now if I reload the profiles page, pick the file again and upload it, that's looking good. No error here, no error here. And in uploads, we now have the images folder, and there we have that file. And you see, it was added twice because I tried it twice, just saving it to the database, then failed because of the missing migrations. And you see that different names were assigned automatically by Django since we had a name clash since the same file was uploaded multiple times. And we don't need to worry about those different names because a path to that file was stored in the database. And we can see this. If I open a new terminal tab here, if I quickly fire up that shell, and I then quickly import from profiles.models, I'll import the user profile. Then if I use user profile objects all, I have one object in there. And if I access this through its index, and I then access the user image field, I get an error because it's just image, not user image. So if I access the image field, then you see it is able to make that connection to that file. And here we can then access things like the path to get the full path to that file where it was stored. We can also get the size of that file. So that is looking good now. And with that, we now utilize a model to let Django handle the storage of our uploaded file. Now let's see what else we can do with that.